Well, welcome back to my channel. And as you can see, I'm not really motivated to do any daily uh, podcast because this is just for fun. More than anything else, this is a channel that's dedicated to my opinions. Whoever's really interested in listening to my opinion. And and I don't see any market for huge white middle-aged men uh, to have their rants being posted because of the fact that there's so many of them out there that some of them are just way off the rockers at times. And there's really not much I can do about that. Sometimes when people rant and they're in a position of power or just want to get the word out, so to speak, they want to voice their opinions no matter what. And I'm no exception. And today we're going to be talking about something that's really near and dear to my heart. And sometimes I don't think us liberals get it about why Republicans vote the way they do. I'm saying this because we love good explanations. We love things to be explained to us. We love things that make complete sense for the common good. And that's one of the biggest difference between the liberals and the Republicans in the way I see it. You may say it a little differently. Sometimes when you argue with a Republican, it doesn't really matter. They're in the business of cheerleading a lie. And they know it's false. And why? For some crazy reason, they expect to benefit from it, from that lie. It's like a person who has no nerves in their hands puts his hand on a hot stove and doesn't feel any pain. That's a Republican. They will keep on doing the same things over and over and over again to see if it can just become the truth. The thing is, I've been watching the congressional hearings about the impeachments of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and they'll just do anything that will stick just to keep away from the real issues at hand. They'll put the smoke screen up. Because what are they really truly protecting? If you're a Republican politician, you know your political life spans between maybe 6 terms in Congress, maybe 3 terms in the Senate, maybe 1 to 2 terms as president. The thing about it is, Republicans voters are trained for no change. They like things the way they are in society of a hierarchy structure. A matrix is formed at the top where the 1/10 of the 1% rules over everybody else instead of having a government governing the whole. Therefore, they are more attracted to be more in line with an authoritarian figure who is weak in power when it comes to economic issues. When it comes to social issues and culture wars, they're more apt to be strong on those issues alone. Why? Because it's sort of like, what's the best way I can explain it? Like a Miller Light commercial back in the 80s. Taste great, less filling. I equate that to that as a way of I want that out there, a battle cry about whatever the issue is. Um, restricting the camera. Come on, don't be shy. Come on, get back over here. Hmm? Good girl, good girl. Battle cry is something more of a rally call. Say, let's say here, back in the Spanish American War of 1898 to, I believe, 1899, when then the Secretary of the Navy, what's his face, Theodore Roosevelt, wanted this war to get the rest of the colonialists out of the Western Hemisphere, mostly the Spanish. They still had strongholds in the Caribbean. They had some strongholds still left in the Philippines, and on and on and on. About so, what did they do? Um, it's kind of obvious what they did. I think it was in Havana or outside the outskirts of Cuba. An accident in which the USS Maine had an explosion inside the magazine of the belly of the ship, causing significant damage. I don't know the casualties, but I don't think it was sunk, but do think it was kind of wrecked. And that was a battle cry from the press because even back then there was this really seedy relationship between politicians and the press. If you were like a right leaning uh, newspaper, patriotism was possibly at the pinnacle before the turn of the century because even at that time, there was like a shift in the demo in the demographs of what was happening in Europe. And around those times, Europe was still at the point of where they were trying to define their borders when it comes to their empires. And in doing so, Spain still had a lot of significant influence in the Western Hemisphere, and this really did not sit well with um, Theodore Roosevelt. So, well, McKinley, not so much. I don't know very much about that era per se about William McKinley, but I know he was assassinated. And the thing about it was, Theodore Roosevelt saw this as an opportunity to see that the writing on the wall for empires were starting to collapse. I mean, you want to put the nail in the coffin because I'm willing to bet he alone was putting people in place about spreading, and this is my conspiracy theory, about spreading the idea of democracy. And this is also about the time where the automobile was being introduced, and the main fuel source was petroleum. I mean, heavy lead petroleum, but that's beside the point. So that was an opportunity for new American entrepreneurs to become the um, giants of industry to push through any agenda that would benefit them well financially. This has been happening ever since the 1840s, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and new ideas started to pop. And some of the ideas of socialism was starting to factor into what was happening in the colonies and around the world, and not just the United States, because the colonies do include other countries as well. If you believed in the right of man should be to benefit the spread of the wealth to everybody, and not to a hierarchy, you were considered a socialist. You're also considered a communist. Commune, by the very root word, means community, which means the collective, the whole, communion. That's active participation among parishioners to get partake in the breaking of the bread of the renewal of your commitment to God on a weekly basis, usually on a Saturday and usually on a Sunday. It was called the Feast of Unleavened Bread for refreshing. How does that play into the part of politics. So you have like three moving parts: lifestyle, religion, money. Money is sort of the root of everything. A weight. How you value wealth. And how you value wealth depends upon not just from a single person, but on the collective. If we all value money, then there's worth to that currency, whatever that may be. And we've chosen over the years to get away from the gold standard and to a value of the strength of uh, of a of a country government system. If it's based on a fabric that is stable, going from a royalty monarchy to something sort of a loosely formed like a Greco-Roman republic, in which it encapsulates senators, and incorporates Congress, representatives, and the two bases, two branches of government that make the wheels of laws to make the country run in in the direction of where at that time what is popular among the collective. That's a republic. The judicial just only enforces the laws that are given to, made by the lawmakers and assigned to by the president. The weaker the government is, the stronger the base of the influence, not of the people, but of the 1% who will have control of the president, Congress, and the judicial branch, and which is considered an oligarchy because you have many different pieces in the place of what the oligarchy is. You slap on a token voting system in which the candidates are already pre-selected for you on both parties, and that's a system that doesn't make people happy. What makes people happy is if the congressman or the president listens to the voters themselves. And that's where the power should be. When it says we the people, and this goes back to the time where I was doing my podcast on the Constitution. That has significant weight. We the people means all the people. And that's what, if you're liberal leaning, knows exactly what it means. It encapsulates everybody living in that country. In the view of a Republican, the power should be only gifted to we, the white rich, white, male people. They believe that's the way the government should be run by older, rich, white males. And and collectively, that's all that's all good, fine, and dandy. But if you're a woman or a minority in the Republican Party, you're going against your own interests. As if you voted for a Democrat, if you vote for somebody that believes in everything in the collective, that's where you ought to belong in the collective because a lot of the laws you can benefit from you if you put your investment of your hard-earned money that's appropriated by taxes. You should see a return on your investment. Republicans only see that in they see this as the animal kingdom food chain. And what I mean by a food chain is basically at the bottom is the poor. They're the easiest pickings. The middle class, they have sort of backbone. They're willing to put up a little fight. Then you have semi-rich folk who are maybe a minority and maybe female. Um, and if they're Republican, they kind of vote against their own interests. If you're a Republican, what really matters to you as a voter is what sort of egotistical satisfaction I should get when I vote for Scott Walker or um, I don't know, Ron DeSantis or I don't know. They get the satisfaction of knowing that somebody who is male and white and rich has control and feels that they're comfortable with the fact that this is the way things they should be ought to be. You if you add equality to the Republican Party, it just throws a monkey wrench in their thinking. As it was, as I discussed, as a liberal that I am, I can explain a whole day about the schematics, the nuances of the Democratic Party, but no reality to them. It's just nonsense. It's just gibberish. It's a foreign language. It's nonsensical. It's just it goes to the very very core of who they are. Cold, heartless, um, uneducated buffoons. I say that very loosely because of the fact that I've been in many arguments with them. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to end with this. If you believe in that hierarchy, you have Jesus, rich man, God advocate, abortion, hating, uh, no regulated uh, industries. That's what you want. That's who you should vote for. I remember if you go in that direction, are you saying I'm selfish? That's something you should consider. But to the liberals out there, please, for the love of God, I've tried this before. It doesn't work. Explaining stuff, taking Republicans to task does not work. All they're about is the messaging. Left bad, Biden bad, Harris bad, whatever. I think it's important that you take the time out for yourselves to examine who you are as a person. If you believe we should trust visions to an authoritarian, who am I to judge you for believing what you believe in? I can't fault you for that. But I can fault you for trying to make other people's lives miserable because they have that D behind their name, whatever that may be. So, please, for the love of God, take the time to really examine who you are individually. What are my beliefs? Are my beliefs aligned with the rest of society or to a few select people who are higher on that food chain in the office? Is it worth me saying this is the way they ought to be?